There we go. Now it's working. See, I'm videoing right now. Okay? Let's go. Everything's good. We're videoing right now. Let's go. So let's do it. Begin right now. And a 1, 2,
Hi, my
3.
name's Ken Olson, and it's time in Canada that somebody speaks up.
Start again.
Why?
Because you can edit it later. Because I spoke.
Okay, start again. We're going to edit. Hi, my name's Ken Olson. It's time that somebody in Canada speaks up about the ridiculous harassment and criminal activities going on within our courts, and that people are, it's right out of hand, not just for Ken Olson, but for many, many citizens of Canada that can't do anything. And we have to all get together. It's happening. We have to stop the people that are breaking their oaths to God daily in our courts, the lawyers that are taking our money, and there's documents. And I'm not going to get into my full story. I'm going to explain why I had to do this and why all these law books here that you see are from one civil case only of a person just like the Jordans that went into Comrade Gardner's court in Chilliwack, BC. But we'll talk about Justice Gardner in a moment. We have to, why does Ken Olson not want to have a trial with no jurisdiction? Because that's happened more than once in Ken Olson's life. Firstly, we have to look at this file. This is somebody that walked into a police station and made a false claim and had me arrested and put on an iron bed. The shit beat out of me. And then they found out that the claim was wrong because the money that was in question was in my bank account where it was supposed to be. I was bonded and had a license. It starts out there. I get pretty sick. I get really sick about this. And I fight it, and I get the police officer. Well, she's going to get fired because what happens, it starts there, and I'm not going to get into all the story about me. We're going to have a great big meeting, not just Kenny Olson's story. It starts out, I got a police officer when I first get falsely arrested because someone like the Jordans that walked into Comrade Gardner's court did the same thing. They made a false claim. And when they made the false claim, the police officer just accepted it on its face value. No nothing, just like this Jordan shit. Now what happens with this police officer, the RCMP, makes a statement, never heard anything about this Olson, not involved. Then later as I get into court, oh, she did all this, and makes another statement. By the way, Ken Olson got her fired. And I want you to listen to me, Comrade Gardner, because I've got you on my list. This is without any prejudice. You are next. If you think you're going to make me face these documents over one false claim again in Canada, you better get your head examined. Now, after that one's over, I get falsely arrested again. They throw me in jail again because some goof like the Jordans and the Gardners are out there. And I'm thrown in, run head first into a wall. I've got no criminal, they're beating the shit out of me because I got a police officer fired. That's the main reason, one of them. Now, I can talk about it all I want, but it's very simple. There's a document that says charges withdrawn. I don't have to go through all those documents. It didn't even go to trial after 7 days of beating the shit out of me. Now I got into all this, and the next court, they dismiss that one too. Here, I get the shit beat out of me again, they're trying again. Well, they've tried more than one time, and now they're going to use the Jordans and Comrade Gardner in the Chilliwack courts. I sold a simple mobile home. That's a gorgeous mobile home. I've got pictures of it right here. I sold this to these two kids. I've been in the mobile home business for 40 years. I'm retired. I spent 10 months as a hobby rebuilding this trailer. I put in a new gray sink. I put in a new gray jacuzzi tub. They say in their statement of claim that it's all false, that it's all rotten. Here's a picture of them rebuilding the walls, and all the walls are good. They have pictures of a lot of rot in the back, Comrade Gardner, that shows the back corner rotten. And it was. My wife and I gave them $1,500 off to fix it. All the trailers in Hope sell for about $30,000 like that. These kids pleaded with me and I gave it to him. He's a professional carpenter for $13,500 and made them fully aware of the mold and everything. It's a beautiful trailer. Here it is right here. This trailer, I had put $10,000 worth of labor and time into it. This lady comes to court and just says that I advertised updated appliances, false claim. She says many things, it's all false. And when I tried to get to a pretrial conference, after she files the statement of claim, I go in front of a Comrade Miller. And you know what Comrade Miller says when I get in there? I'm supposed to bring all these documents related to it. There's a document right here. It says, what should the parties bring? Each party to a claim must bring to the settlement conference all relevant documents and reports. Hours it took me to prepare to get this shit to make it over with. I didn't want a trial. I have more knowledge than that. I wanted to stop this goofy woman from committing a criminal offense. It's criminal, perjury, and fraud what you did to my family and I, the Jordans. It's sick. And I'm organizing this, and I made you well aware that I know all about this mobile home business. I own the mobile home factory. I've sold in excess of 1,000 mobile homes. I've put this into an affidavit for the courts. And when these Jordans pull this bullshit on me, walk into Comrade Gardner's court, he has no jurisdiction. I told him, I'm already dismissed, Comrade, Judge, at that time. I says, I'm already dismissed by your partner in the same jurisdiction, and that can't happen to me. I know how to file all these books, and this court's not going to do this to me. So you know what I did? I walked out. Yes, Comrade Gardner, I walked out because I told you I'm not going to do this again. All these books here, you see, all these books, every one of these books is related to one civil case where some person made a false claim, hired a big law firm with a bunch of money, went into the courts, and I had to write and defend all this, Comrade Gardner. Are you understanding this? That's why I walked out of your court in Canada. I am not filing all these books again in Canada because you have no jurisdiction. And I know the law. And this is all about jurisdiction. And I've had enough of your order. You know what his order is? I walked out, you know what he says? Firstly, he says, on record, this is the record, this is the proceedings at trial of Comrade Gardner speaking. He tells these people on page 9, well, now at this point, I have to tell you, I can't award more than you claimed. You claimed $3,000. Comrade Gardner, you say that right in your own document. But you know what you did? You gave them $23,600 and let them keep the trailer because I insulted you with the truth. You got no jurisdiction and I'm not doing this again. And I've told the Law Society. I retained the lawyer. He grabbed over $12,000 of my money, that lawyer, and never went to court once. His name's Jay Strafe. I called the Law Society all about this guy. You know what? He's holding my money. They grabbed my wife's RSPs out of the bank. They grabbed my bank account. All because Comrade Gardner didn't like it that he had no jurisdiction. Well, listen, I want to just stop right here and take a break, and I want to say this, away from the case. I'm not taking this shit anymore from Comrade Gardner or any of you people. The courts all above are notified of what happened. Everybody is notified. So what we're going to look at here now is here's the people I notified and gave them the documents of this corruption going on in the Chilliwack courts. The Attorney General of British Columbia. Letter back. They can't do anything because they have to keep their courts independent. That guy's name's the Assistant Deputy Attorney General. His name is Moisey. They can't do anything. Keep these courts independent. Listen, this is criminal offenses going on in these courts. It's going to stop. Judicial Council of Canada. I've got letters from everybody. The Minister of Canada, Rob Nicholson, no authority. I called the Supreme Court. They don't, no reply. He's the one with the authority. I've called Chief Justice Finch. He has no authority to do anything. I've called every justice. I've called the Lieutenant Governor. Every one of them sent me a letter. Everybody, the Lieutenant Governor sent me a letter and told me to go to the Attorney General. Listen, you guys, especially you, Gardner, you listen to me. I've had enough of those bad word letters. And I'm not taking this shit anymore. And there's so many of you people out there. Can you imagine? This is one person walking in all these documents to get to the appeal court. And by the way, after all those lower courts, when I got to the appellate court with 3 judges, we got the money for what these lawyers were trying to do. 2/3 of their fees. And it was a bunch of money. We got paid that. But you know, we sued the lawyers because they can't do this in Canada. It's called non-meritus litigation. The judges stated all over the documents, there's no issue. But when we went through the courts to go to the Supreme Canada, everyone says a lawyer in Canada can do this. In fact, the professor of law of Alberta said that a lawyer has a right, it's in the documents, a lawyer has a right in Canada to commit perjury on behalf of his client because there's a case in Saskatchewan that a judge made that decision and it's never been appealed. All this shit is going to stop. We must organize, and I don't want to get too long here, but I'm going to read something that's not coming from me. It's coming from a court reporter. Okay? I want to read this one from the court reporter, what she says. She says, it's out of Calgary. And so that it's not just from me. I mean, we all read the paper every day. We all know this shit's going on in the courts. We all know police are beating the shit out of people. We all know that the lawyers are accountable to the Law Society, and the Law Society can watch them steal. I have the documents. But they say, Ken, you can't talk about that because we have to keep that really confidential. Well, it's not confidential to me. I can say everything that I told you guys, not what you told me. I can say what I told you. Calgary, the argument is a common one, that getting a fair shake before the courts is simply, okay, I gotta get this in the better light here. Can you see me over here? Turn it here. I need the light, please. Turn it here. That's fine. Just turn this over here. I need the light. The argument is a common one, that getting a fair shake before the courts is simply not possible unless you have vaults full of money. Many of us scribes who cover courts on a regular basis have seen firsthand how those with money to hire the best lawyers and get much lighter sentences, or often none at all, while some poor sod who committed a lesser crime but has a less competent lawyer gets the go directly to jail ruling. On several occasions, I have seen how people who try to represent themselves before the courts without a lawyer in tow are treated, and it's not a pretty sight. In every case I have witnessed, the judges in question have treated the lawyerless appellant or respondent with either blatant or barely concealed contempt. It's as if the judge, who let's not forget was once a lawyer him or herself, is offended that one of their own isn't being kept in their Gucci loafers and Porsche cars by this penniless bore. How dare you waste my time by not knowing all of the niceties and procedures of court? You can almost hear them say, some people argue that our right to a fair trial and access to the courts is severely hampered by the sheer cost of hiring decent legal help. But I never believed, and never would have believed, that law-abiding people would be barred from even making an application to the court. That's the kind of thing you would expect from the courts in a banana republic. Surely it couldn't happen here in Canada. This is a person that's in a court every day, daily, and it's going on, and I want to close this because what I want Garner to go is, you took my money out of my bank with a false claim. You had no jurisdiction. Actually, at law, you guys, it's called functus officio. The motion is worth shit, Garner. And you know, all the people above you that know about it. And then I hire a lawyer to do something. He doesn't even register and holds my $12,000, over $12,000, while they're seizing the money. The sheriff's coming out and grabbing our banks and RSP while the money's in trust. Everybody knows the money's in trust. I asked for the money in trust, can't get it back. But boy, when I call that Law Society, I got it back in one day. Now listen, all this shit has to stop. And I can't do it alone, and I could go on and on with this story. But I'm going to read one thing and I'm going to close. And firstly, BC Court Administration needs an overhaul. It's in the papers all over. Let's overhaul the BC courts. How can you do it? If you don't want to go through all this shit, get a hold of us. We're going on website. We're going to get together. We're not going to have one meeting. We're going to have many. I want to run for a member of parliament so I get to speak about this nightmare. Do you understand that, Comrade Gardner? Yeah, it's time you understood, and it's time the people that give you the right to do this are stopped. And it's time that my wife and I get some peace in our home because you're harassing us with a living nightmare. I went to the police with a letter from the Attorney General's Department to have the RCMP and Hope look at it. You know what they told us? They're too busy for perjury. They're too busy for fraud. They're too busy, the RCMP and Hope. I'm 75 years old. They took away part of my pension. They took $151 I had in the bank. They took my wife's RSPs. Now, you listen, you guys. I'm only going to read this one last thing, and it's going to stop. It's going to stop. Getting it. Too many documents, but I've got it. We can edit it. I want to read that poem. Shut it off for a minute. You shut it off? I gotta find that poem. Here it is. It is. In the poem. I want to read this poem. Yeah, here it is. Okay? Put it on. On our website is going to be a list of Government of Canada officials and officers of the Courts of Canada and British Columbia who've been shown false documents that the RCMP, the police department, used to falsely arrest Ken Olson, a citizen of Canada, on numerous occasions and onto corrupt trials of outside influence for more than 30 years and continue in Chilliwack this day, is a positive proof that the justice system in Canada has lost control of due process of law in Canada. They have denied a citizen of Canada the right to freedom and liberty, the right not to be harassed and not to be stalked by the very system that took the oath to God to protect these rights of one individual. All officers of Canada's courts involved with Ken Olson and listed on these sheets have viewed these corrupt documents. And the courts of British Columbia have. And they've aided and abetted the harassment and stalking to continue in Canada. The others on this list are the corrupt police officers, corrupt prosecutors, corrupt judges of Canada's courts who had outside influence in their courts and should be jailed for obstruction of justice. That's what it's called. These officials have brought the courts of Canada into disrepute. The ongoing harassment and stalking has developed into oppression for Ken Olson and for many other Canadians. The machine of justice in Canada that condone these activities are an outrageous example of bureaucracy running wild at the expense of all human reason and human dignity. And it's going to end. And I'm going to end it with a poem. Most lawyers work in a law firm. Some have been wait, I gotta take a drink, Mike. Stop, edit this out. Of coffee. And I have a better poem. Where did I got two? Let's get the other one. The other one is better. I just grabbed this one. The other one, I've got it. I've got it all here. Here it is. Okay, I'm ready. Okay? Before I read this, Comrade Gardner, there's one thing. You know when you have no jurisdiction and you do that, you lose all rights of your motion. And when you do this and you create this nightmare, you've never had to file all these documents. And you see, it's time you learn. And if anyone wants to view these documents on behalf of Comrade Gardner, I'll show these documents and how the corruption through our courts is a nightmare, okay? Now I want to read this and I'm going to close it. All you people that need to get a hold of us, our website's here. Many of you people have nightmares. Some of you have lost your children over this. Some of you have lost family over this nightmare. Get a hold of us. We have to all get together and stop this nightmare. It's not only happened down in Ferguson in America. It's going on right here in our backyard. Now I'm going to read this and close. We Are Change Hope is not only in Hope. We Are Change is happening right across the country. Most lawyers work in a law firm. Some have been infiltrated with a justice germ. With those who catch it, it's long term. Science has not yet created a pill to treat those that daily kill justice at will. We go to their firm with complete trust for our law dilemma. We believe it is a must. But our trust at times becomes their cash cow. It's over and over. Some still doing it now. Some are documented to be committing sin. That's the reason my 29 cent plus must begin. They have a closed society of shit. SOS is it. We must challenge their endless wit. Until then, my 29 cent pen can't quit. I want Canada to be aware of all of it. Our courts are loaded with their tools. Actually, they make their own laws and rules, using them to make us downright fools. There's a documented cover-up across our land for democracy in Canada. It's right out of hand. So I'm giving these documents with a demand. Not another letter. This I can't stand. Attorney General Susan Anton, take a look. That's why I'm writing and documenting this effing justice book. Go to a higher court. File a factum and appeal book. Gardner, take a look. Take a look. This is one false claim like the Jordans. And if it starts with no jurisdiction, as this did, this is the problem. Go to a higher court. File a factum and appeal book. It's filed and done. Still they won't look. Thousands of dollars and months it took. Look at these documents that went through the court. They are criminal acts, not just a legal tort. And in Canada, we have many more to sort. If you traffic in pot and get caught, most times it is jail you've got. If you traffic in litigation, there is no blame. All across Canada, it is the same. For most Canadians who go to court, it is like professional gambling. You are down and can't abort. You've given up most of your time and money. Then they ask for more. It isn't funny. In Canada, to file a factum and appeal book, it's thousands of dollars, and again, they won't even look. That is the reason, Gardner, I'm writing this effing justice shit. I've had enough of it. And I'd like to close now because I don't want to make this too long. Everybody has a story. And all I want you to do is be aware as I have the documents to back up all this story. And I have the letters from everybody saying they have no authority. Nobody has authority. Justice minister, judges above, nobody has authority. We have to elect that authority. You see, in America, they elect the Attorney General. They elect the High Court judges. And that's one of the things we have to get together. America's been doing it for years and years and years. In Canada, that's one of our goals. Let's get the Attorney General elected so Attorney General doesn't do this to another citizen of Canada. And let's make sure that the High Court judges are elected. And let's sit down and find out if we can elect a board that can oversee all this shit. That's why we have to get together. Thank you. If you need any information, much more will be posted on our website in the future. Thank you for your time. And if you have any questions, please ask on the website. Thank you. That's it. I'm not doing anymore. That's it.